TaskUs On Air presents CX plus you.
Hey there, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to TaskUs On Air. Ridiculously exciting to have you with us today. We've got a really exciting lineup over the course of our sort of podcast season for you. I should say who I am. My name is Nathan. I work on the business development team in Europe, and I've got a very special guest here with me today. My colleague, Max. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, Max here from TaskUs Croatia, tuning in from Zagreb.
So welcome again to CX Plus You, the most ridiculously refreshing podcast on all things outsourcing you'll hear today. And that's a guarantee, I promise you that. But today, we're going to be looking at sort of our guide to outsourcing customer support in Europe. In the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be talking in detail and giving you some really interesting perspective on the importance of managing costs whilst maintaining a competitive edge of customer experience. Sort of our guide to outsourcing customer support in Europe. I mean, in the environment now, everyone out there at the moment will be experiencing the economic circumstances, and hopefully we can give you some nuggets of gold there. Should we kick it off and get started? I think, as I said, couldn't be talking about this at a better time, really a more suitable time, because I think the word on the tip of everyone's tongue out there at the moment, and I'm talking to, customers and prospective customers every day, is that R word, the word of recession. I think customer support as an element of that discussion. All businesses out there, whether it's, looking to grow, sustaining their customer base or protecting their financial position, or whether it's a mixture of all three, which it often is, customer support is one of those things that can sometimes be forgotten, but it's absolutely critical that it isn't. What's your view, Max?
Yeah, exactly. I'll put my history professor hat on. When you look a decade ago, customer service, customer support, care, it was a department you had to have in your company, but oftentimes overlooked as like unnecessary cost. Simply, all right, we'll do this because, there's some standard or whatever. But, nowadays when everything's turning into digital, you're seeing, food being ordered, movies being watched, you're getting your clothes, you're even talking to your doctors online. It's become a way of having a competitive edge in today's condensed markets in whatever industry you're at. So, it's a two-way street here. And I think it's an excellent topic to kick things off.
Yeah, just your point there. I think that's something else that businesses can consider when evaluating what to do with their customers during a difficult time. I mean, it's not just about, hunkering down, trying to maintain what you've got. There are some real opportunities there to differentiate through customer support at a time like this in order to, number one, potentially grow your market share or build even stronger loyalty with the customers you've got. I mean, you talked about digital there as well, and I guess that's one element, but I'd love to get your view on the ground in Croatia about what sort of strategies can companies look at implementing, during a time like this, bearing in mind, right, lots of businesses won't be awash with cash for big initiatives. What sorts of things are you seeing? What sorts of strategies are you implementing for our clients over there in Croatia?
Yeah, so, lately we've seen clients, prospective or, our current ones coming to us. They either get investment or they have these new strategies of opening up new markets because of the, competitive pressure. They have to expand. So there's this need. And, when you look at Europe, since we're talking about it today, you can say Europe as like one continent, but it really isn't. It's a lot of different countries and cultures. Each approach is completely different. You can have, the same service and basically the same process and team offering this and supporting that service or product in two different markets, and it can be a completely different story. Facing these challenges today, basically what you can do is, let's look at the basic setup, right? So you have this channel mix. So the way you're talking to your customers, listening to them, servicing them. So obviously, the top three categories are either it's like written communication and then it's email, or it's live channels such as phone or live chat. You can juggle with this mix to either be fully competitive and, talk to your demographic, basically, segregate your customers and talk to each one on the channel that they want at the time that they want in the market that they want to. Obviously, offering all of that, doesn't go with retaining costs. And then some strategies companies do, for example, what we see in north so we're here based in Croatia, Zagreb, kind of the CEE region. So north and west from us, companies are really looking to nearshore and offshore of their operations because, it's really hard to get all this talent from one place and then scale it up and down. And, on the cost side, it's expensive as well. So they're looking into nearshoring or offshoring partners, but then, being part of the EU, looking for partners because of obvious GDPR reasons, they're trusting us with their customers' data and so on. So they're also still looking for an EU partner. So the importance of nearshoring, especially, for European languages, it's really tough to the other side of the world to outsource something in, a completely different time zone, completely different culture. And, the chances of you finding teammates who are going to support your customers in Italian, French, Swedish, Spanish, and so on are really lower. So you got to stick to closer to where you are. And then, like you said, you can always, leverage technology. So these are some of the 3 key points. Like on a high level, basically, you can look at your channel mix. You can also do it together with a partner, nearshore, outshore, or simply leverage technology to be more competitive, but also save costs.
Yeah, that's some really interesting points. Drill in a little bit, because we're both talking about leveraging technology. Now, what does that mean? Everyone talks about sort of digital innovation. I think businesses, when they're looking to reduce costs, understanding how to sort of transform their digital proposition is probably one of the first places they'll go to, right? Is that reflected in the way that you're seeing clients operate or the tactics they're using at the moment?
Exactly. Yeah. As I said, it's not like you look at these 3 things that I've just mentioned separately. They don't go one without the other. For example, you have this cool new hip product or service. You're basically offering it to, let's say, Gen Z. They expect to get serviced right now, right away. More often they're, used to using apps, chatting with people and so on. So maybe phone won't be the best way to go to it. So you offer live chat, but then you can leverage technology on top of that, not having to have a separate team for each language and market that you're servicing, because that can be really costly. But you introduce some tools, translation tools, or some tools that would suggest different kinds of answers to the teammates, to your operations when handling these customers, to make things more efficient, but also from a customer perspective, the flow and the information that they're getting is, really timely and accurate, and then in their own language. It often goes one together with the other, and you don't have to have it in-house. You even find an outsourcing partner who starts doing this together with you. You start building a tier 1 support team together with your partner. That doesn't mean that you're firing people in-house from your side. They become your level 2 point for escalations, SMEs, trainers of your vendors teams, and so on. So those are some of the things you can do when you drill deeper, and you're basically combining all 3.
Yeah, let's look a bit deeper into, you mentioned there that it's not necessarily just focusing on one, but at the same time, it's not necessarily focusing on all of them. And I think from a digital perspective, companies will often look at completely transforming, the way that they service their clients, going through a big transformation processes, the tools, all at the same time. I see, certainly in today's economic environment, there is a real desire out there from businesses to be able to do exactly as you say, modify the way in which they are delivering against the customer journey so that it's really relevant and specific to their customer base, because of the market the way it is, and shortages of funding out there, and all those other challenges. There's a concern there. They don't want to invest too much into that transformation. Now, I think finding a partner, potentially, like you said, to work with on that sort of digital proposition front is one way a company can deliver, results and change, but maybe not necessarily with that sort of massive investment in mind. I mean, as an example, one of our solutions, Prompto, is a digital solution that can be overlaid. I mean, that's, not a whole transformation piece, but a really simple element that can be introduced to a client's campaign to deliver pretty startling results. I've got a client that we've been working with recently who implemented this digital solution that allowed the campaign to reduce handle times by 30%. And I think their CSAT went up by 5 points. Now, in a time where it's really difficult to hold on to customers, to keep their spend consistent and to deliver the level of support with the resources that you have, those kind of things are massive, right?
Yeah. I think you're on point here. So it's not that you need to hire an internal team of experts, CX experts working together with IT experts, to develop all these solutions. It's good that you have a focus on this, but most of the time, these solutions are already out there. They're being used by other companies. So you can look at your competitors. But I think you're on point here, because BPO partners are the ones that are, kind of on the front line talking to customers of multiple industries, multiple companies. So they have have this need to be more efficient for their clients internally, which is why, as you mentioned, Prompto, I know that TaskUs has a digital team, is a separate vertical that basically, comes in, it looks at your operations, it looks at the supporting departments that you have internally who are working with the supporting functions like WFM, HR, operations at TaskUs. And then they basically, look at the customer journey, the processes, like how much does it look at the touch points? How much does it take to handle a certain contact through a certain channel? And then there's a variety. I think there's 40 different tools that you can implement some of them to make your processes more efficient, to make your handling time better, to be more local for your customers, to combine channels, to ensure that your teammates are getting educated efficiently, that they have all the information that they need at every single point of time, and so on. I think that's a great strategy that you can use, take advantage, utilize what your partner, the experience that they have, the tools that they have, and simply leverage this to transform bits and pieces of your own process digitally.
Yeah, data is detail, right? At a time like this, data and detail are, super important. That's where potentially not necessarily an outsourcer, but a consultant or an outsourcer that has a consultancy service can really start to help you direct that spend. You've got a certain amount of investment that you're able to, as a business, to put into, your customer support function, which obviously will lead to you either growing more customers or keeping those customers that you've got. Why wouldn't businesses take advantage of that extra knowledge? I guess it'd be interesting to hear some other strategies are working right now, or to help deliver that competitive edge, because standing out at a time of challenge for a business is something that is well remembered by clients, right? By their customers. If you can improve your customer support at a time where other businesses are really struggling, then actually, your competitive differentiator is increased. Have you got any other insights for the listeners on strategies to enable them to do that?
Yeah, obviously, Nathan, there's lots of things you can do, but maybe start with the most obvious one is quality. You can really work on your quality to stand out if you have a great quality service that you're offering to your customers. It's easier said than done, but what does this mean? It's the approach to work that your entire customer service team has, like with a huge focus on it. If you state that and you go with that mindset, you're doing a lot. Then it's looking into the quality of communication. For example, you're handling 5,000 contacts a week. You basically take out a certain sample of those as a trainer, a coach, a QA specialist. You look at them and you sit down with the teammate and you calibrate on these expectations. You kind of suggest room for improvement in communication and so on, and you exchange feedback. Let's say a client BPO partner environment, that's done on the BPO side, but then also the teammate, he evaluates himself, coach, trainer, QA person also evaluates the teammate, but then this is discussed together with the client, and then you listen to them. You say, what are your expectations on this? What room for improvement do you see? And then you also include the teammate because he's talking to these customers every day, and so he gives his point of view, and his feedback. Look, I think this can work, but also this might not, because if we do this, then we're risking having situations like A and B and so on. So work approach, quality of communication, simply being adaptable to your customers, because across different markets, across different demographics, it's not like you set a quality rule and then one size fits all. A lot of times it's more art than simply, math. So you got to be flexible, and of course, domain knowledge. Learning experience plays a whole lot importance over here. So I like to say formula for quality is basically, knowledge times training plus experience, because the knowledge grows over time. Collect feedback from your customers. You learn new processes each time you introduce a new channel, you enter a new market, you learn new stuff, offer different products and different services. So all of that goes into your knowledge base. You need to constantly training your teammates for this, plus experience, because over time, and then minus attrition. If you have high attrition rates, the experience part, the knowledge part, it all goes down. You have to hire new people who then start from scratch. So I'm sure that's a topic we'll be introducing later on.
How important is it to keep abreast of what your competitors are doing and sort of industry trends?
Nathan, it's really important. Like if you're focusing simply on, your company and thinking doing this the smartest or the best way, obviously you're not. There's always someone doing certain stuff that you can learn from, implement, test on your own side, and so on. I think this is why having a good BPO partner comes into play. Obviously, not everyone is sharing industry secrets, but there are some best practices, rules of thumb that you can use, that your BPO partner will suggest. And they're doing this for the right reason, because they've done this, 100 times. It's their core business. So I think one, you can do your own research, listen to your competitors, but also this valuable information can also come from your BPO partners. So I think you're on point here.
Differentiate and keep that market share. A good BPO partner that sort of understands your vertical, your sector, is, like gold dust at a time like this.
This is, I think, working in TaskUs, what I found out, and I think this is kind of one of the reasons exactly why we have, a separate consultancy team, because maybe it's easier said than done. You listen to your BPO partner and so on, but TaskUs having a dedicated department who focuses on this, who basically dives into your entire CX journey, diagnose all the things, all the touch points that you're doing, as you said, data, so measuring everything, diagnose and assess. Then they basically go back, they talk to all the different SMEs for this type of industry, develop a solution. And then this department who develops the solution, it proposes this solution to our clients. And what I love about this service, the fact that it all sounds great. I want to improve this, and it'll help me stay competitive, but I gotta be cautious of costs. So I'm here, outsourcing, and then this BPO is presenting consultancy service, which is not cheap to me. And now where do I find this balance? So I think this is why the consultancy team, the optimizer program on our side, implemented this rule that, the fee is activated only if they can, find a 10 times return on the project that they're working. Yeah, I think this is a great approach. It definitely brings value. And what I love about the optimizer program on our side is that they take initiative on execution, but they don't do it for our clients. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to leave you with something you don't understand and you can handle without us. It's basically they're here all the way, they provide a solution, and then they let you shadowing, implement this, and start using it. So and then you really get the value out of it because you don't fully rely on this consultancy team being next to you all the time. Obviously, I think that's one of the things that BPO partners nowadays are doing to offer value, save costs, and help clients out there stay competitive.
That really nicely caps off that section. I guess one more thing to talk about is, again, it's all about that competitive advantage that we can create, or businesses can create. And, what's customer support other than, really sort of building relationships and positive lasting impressions with human beings, that are your customers. So really personalizing that experience is something we'll take, at a time like this, will give you even more connection and all those other things that we've talked about that connection can bring. I mean, what are you seeing in the ways in which businesses can work with BPO partners or themselves? What sorts of things can they do to make that real personal experience for their customers?
Yeah, I'm seeing this need to personalize in order to stay competitive nowadays more than ever. Basically, let's say I'm out here shopping for, some clothes. There's a variety of companies in Europe, of e-commerce platforms, fashion platforms that I can go to. The competitor is just one, that like literally one click, one tab away. What companies do, they focus on pricing, they have sales, but more often all of this is really similar in such a condensed market that one of the great ways where you can be different is the way, you talk to your customers, you listen to them, you collect feedback from them, and you service them. So like in this condensed competitive world today, customer service is one of the ways, maybe one of the best ways that you can maintain your competitive edge. Personalization, definitely a great topic. And especially for Europe, Nathan, where, it's really hard to personalize because wherever you turn around, you have to speak a different language. You have to understand a different culture. You have to introduce different channels. I think that's a great topic.
You've unwittingly uncovered the next subject that we're looking to discuss for our listeners. So I don't know how you managed to do that, Max, but I do applaud your ingenuity and creativity.
It must be the sign that you. It must be the sign that you have behind you, telling me that.
Yeah, so talking to customers in their own language, really. That's where we're going to go to next. And, this is a sort of moment. It's a cliffhanger. I know all of you out there can't wait to get the next bit of information from myself and Mac on the best ways to really talk to your clients in the language that they want to speak to you in. It'd be great to maybe take stock and put together 3 sort of key takeaways, for our listeners
some of the key points that we've discussed there. And I think for me, to kick that off would be consider digital solutions. Look out there at what sort of technological solutions that can really give you that sort of razor edge, when things out there are so competitive. And we talked about a few instances of that, but I would say, look at how digital can help you save money, increase productivity, because it's there and it will enhance your customer experience if done in the right way with the right partner, right?
Yeah, exactly. On top of that, I would add, look into your setup, the channels you're offering, and the markets that you're serving with the combination of languages that you're also offering to your customers. There's immense room for personalization, for being competitive, but also be cautious of, what you implement, what you do, because there are also rooms for improvement that you can do on the cost side. And then obviously it's great having a third party partner with a non-biased view who has experience from the same industry that you are doing and already maybe made some mistakes down the road and can share some tips and tricks on the setup that you need, while also offering, I know TaskUs, for example, has 40 different tools in the tech stack, so while also offering the tools. So I think those are the three main takeaways.
Yeah, I think talk to your friends. There are friends out there, leverage the expertise where you can, and obviously TaskUs are one of those options, just in case you're wondering. That's great, Max. I've really enjoyed it today. All that's left to say is thank you to our listeners for tuning into this episode of CX Plus You. If you've enjoyed this episode, which I'm sure you have, follow us on Spotify to catch the next one. You can also discover more about TaskUs by visiting our website, taskus.com, and following us on our social channels on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Till then, this is Nathan.
And this is Max saying, have a ridiculously good day.